Call this meeting to order. Welcome to the May 22nd, 2025 electronic meeting of the Environmental Commission. We will conduct this meeting like an in-person meeting, so during roll call, please indicate your location. Public comment is welcome and will be via telephone only. To speak at public comment, call 888-788-0099. Enter meeting ID 954-3473-9065. To raise your hand, press 9. To unmute, press star 6. This information is available on the published agenda in the public notices section of the city's website and broadcast of this meeting on CTN Channel 19, AT&T Channel 99, and online at a2gov.org/watchctn. Aaron, will you read the land heritage statement?
Yes. I acknowledge that the land the city of Ann Arbor occupies is the ancestral, traditional, and contemporary lands of the Anishinaabe, including Odawa, Ojibwe, and Potawatomi and Wyandot peoples. I further acknowledge that our city stands, like almost all property in the United States, on lands obtained, generally in unconscionable ways, from indigenous peoples. The taking of this land was formalized by the Treaty of Detroit in 1807. Knowing where we live, work, study, and recreate does not change the past, but a thorough understanding of the ongoing consequences of this past can empower us in our work to create a future that supports human flourishing and justice for all individuals.
Thank you. And will you do the roll call?
Yes. Vice Chairperson Brown. He said he would be absent today. Councilmember Cornell.
Here.
From Ward 5 in Ann Arbor.
Chairperson Curtis.
Here, Lakeside, Tennessee.
Commissioner Dale.
Here in Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Graham.
Here. Hey. Sorry.
What was that, in Ann Arbor?
Yes. Not traveling.
Thanks. Councilmember Malik.
Here, calling from Ann Arbor's 2nd Ward.
Commissioner Marson.
Here in Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Mursky will be absent. Commissioner Mitchell.
Here in Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Nedrich. I should check. She's in the waiting room. 1 second. Yes, she is. Sorry, Sarah. Okay, we'll give her a second to come in. Commissioner Peterswood.
Here in Traverse City.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith will be absent today, and Commissioner Wahing. Here, absent. And Commissioner Nedrich.
I'm here.
Thank you. In Ann Arbor? Or
No,
near-ish?
nearish Ann Arbor, yeah. I'm on city water. It's cool.
All right, we have a quorum.
Okay, great. Does anyone want to make changes to the agenda? Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
So moved, seconded by Rita Mitchell. Okay. All in favor of approval agenda, raise your hand, say aye.
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 Unanimous. Okay. Does anyone want to make changes to last month's meeting minutes? Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes? Anya, seconded by Councilmember Malik. Good. All in favor of approval of the minutes, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Looks unanimous. Next item of business is public comment. This is an opportunity for people to speak for up to 3 minutes. Please call 888-788-0099. Enter meeting ID 954-3473-9065. To raise your hand, press 9. To unmute, press star 6. City staff will select callers who have raised their hand one by one using the last 3 digits of your phone number. When speaking, please move to a quiet area and state your name and address at the beginning of your comments. There may be a delay up to 30 seconds before a connection is established. Aaron, do we have callers?
Yes, we do. Caller ending in 326. Go ahead. You can unmute by pressing star 6.
Hello, this is Jeff Crockett. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Since 1980, I've lived at 506 East Kingsley and have been the communications officer the 04th Ward Historic District Association. In 2021, I helped to form a group called the Green Team to create native plant gardens downtown to attract pollinators and address our concern that the downtown was a native plant desert. We approached the DDA and got permission to create 2 gardens on plots of land that bordered the library lot. In 2022, we got permission to expand to 4 gardens, and in the attachment I send, you will see a map of that, along with people who are involved. It was meant to help begin the transition to an urban park that was promised to voters in 2018 with the passage of Proposition A. Since that time, our group has spent many hundreds of hours of volunteer time at no cost to the city. In the spring of 2023, we added murals to the gardens, and I have attached a picture of that in my email. This year, we have followed the development of the comprehensive plan, hoping that the library lot would be included in the plan. There are some references to natural features in the plan, but the references are primarily aspirational. For example, Goal 10 in Infrastructure and Services says, 1, balance development with protection and integration of critical natural features to foster a healthy, bioverse ecosystem. And number 2, protect, enhance, and manage critical natural features or open space that provide ecological benefits. And 3, encourage tree cover and landscaping to help mitigate the urban heat island effect. There is also a reference in the plan to the PROS plan from 2023 to 2027, which clearly indicates that the downtown is significantly underserved, with 4.11 acres per thousand residents compared to the citywide ratio of 9.6 acres per 1,000 residents. Unfortunately, if passed in August, ballot proposals A and B would eliminate the native plant gardens and replace them with huge residential towers on top of a rebuilt library and a vaguely worded public space. The result would be a massive heat island in combination with the residential tower on top of the old credit union. I would
You have
encourage you to
30
go
seconds.
to that space and sort of take a look and see what it would be like. So on the one hand, we have a few lofty aspirations in the comprehensive plan calling to protect natural features, but then providing no credible protection for natural features as a result of the increased density. In conclusion, there needs to be much stronger language in the comprehensive plan to save natural features from getting eliminated by the measures to increase density, including the perennial gardens at the center of the city. Thanks for your
Okay,
consideration.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, we have caller ending in 464. You can unmute by pressing *6, please.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thanks. I'm always paranoid that you can't. My name is Linda Brower, and I am in Ward 5. First of all, thank you to everyone who worked on this resolution. I can see that a lot of effort and thought went into it. I spoke at your March meeting where you discussed the first draft of this resolution, and I appreciate this final draft. It really is alarming that page 5 of the draft comprehensive land use plan states that it replaces the 2004 Natural Features Master Plan, which we all know was a detailed, comprehensive set of standards to protect all natural features, both on public and private land. I fully support your efforts through this resolution to ensure that the new comprehensive land use plan incorporate and strengthen those protections. There's nothing in your resolution I disagree with. I hope you will all vote for it. I do have one concrete suggestion. In the resolution, there is a table enumerating the 9 types of natural features, along with methods to implement their protection. Number 3 is floodways and floodplains, and the goal summary states, identify, restore, and sustain floodplains, especially those of highest concern, reduce stormwater volume and flood occurrences, support watershed groups, and implement watershed plans. However, your implementation recommendations for this goal states only review and modify city codes and policies to ensure that best management practices are implemented, restore city-owned wetlands, promote stewardship by educating the public on the identification and value of native plants and activities that can benefit floodplains. I think that's good, but I would ask that you strengthen that to specify a concrete policy that the city can codify. i.e. to prohibit any further construction in remaining unbuilt floodplain land, especially those parcels owned by the city where it obviously has total control. Notably, there are 3 large city-owned parcels in the Allen Creek floodplain. Given that the comprehensive plan largely concerns itself with the built environment and how to densify it, it seems essential that your efforts to ensure that natural features protections are woven into the plan should specifically recommend preserving any remaining unbuilt floodplain land as open green space infrastructure. The city should be asked to clean up the floodplain parcels it owns and plant them with native floodplain plants. We can't educate the public to ID and value the native plants that benefit floodplains without saving the floodplains. So I hope you will recommend that very specifically. Finally,
All right, you have 30 seconds.
The current draft of the comprehensive land use plan is far from comprehensive, and it's kind of heartbreaking that it's far from comprehensive. So I applaud your efforts to make it more comprehensive by explicitly incorporating protections for natural features. Again, thank you for all your work on this.
Thank you. Oops. Is the timer. Caller 644. You can press *6 to unmute.
Hi, my name is Kathy Boris. I live at 1726 Charlton in the 5th Ward. I'm calling to support Resolution 25-0633. The current draft version of the Ann Arbor Comprehensive Plan has little to say about natural features. But most significantly, the draft comprehensive plan proposes to replace the natural features plan, currently a plan in its own right, by giving natural features just a few nods in the comprehensive plan. This particularly ill-conceived effort to streamline and simplify the comprehensive plan should be resisted at all costs, because the natural features plan is the only city planning document that we have that specifically serves to protect our trees, wetlands, floodplains, groundwater, steep slopes, as well as native plant and animal ecosystems. If the natural features plan, as currently written, falls away or is reduced to just a few paragraphs in the revised draft comprehensive plan that is sent to City Council for approval, then our natural features are not likely to survive, and we will have abandoned the fight for a livable city. So please approve Resolution 25-0633 tonight, so that natural features will continue to be featured and defended in one of our city's most important official planning documents. Thank you.
Thank you. I see a few other callers, but no hands raised. Again, it's you can press 9 to raise your hand.
Aaron, I just want to mention, I think it's *9
Oh, *9.
specifically. Thank you.
Okay, caller 265. You can press *6 to unmute.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Ellen Ramsberg. I live in Ward 3, and I want to add my support to the resolution that the Environmental Commission has been working on to include the natural features sustainability into the comprehensive land use plan. I agree totally with the last 2 speakers that there's sadly a lack of addressing natural features in the draft of the new comprehensive land use plan, and I hope that anything you do can strengthen that. After all, the comprehensive plan is not just a plan for built development, but it's also a plan for sustainability of all of our natural systems. Protection of natural features should be integral to the to the comprehensive plan and should always be taken into consideration in the development of the built environment. Protection of natural features, I would like to see protected on private lands as well as public lands. The reduction in setbacks, open space requirements, and increased building footprints have already resulted in the loss of mature trees, tree canopies, shrubbery. A prime example of that is at 904 Lincoln, where a house was demolished, but the first thing that was demolished were all of the trees on the lot because setbacks have been reduced and they were no longer protected. I would also like to see the Environmental Commission work on adopting a strong tree ordinance for preservation and enlargement of our tree canopy. Decatur, Georgia has a really, really excellent tree ordinance, and I did urge you to look at that. It beautifully captures reasons for strong protections of tree canopies and adding to tree canopies. I'd like to thank you all for your hard work to be protectors of our natural world in this community, and I applaud the resolution. I hope that that will be approved tonight, and I hope that anything we can do to strengthen it in the comprehensive land use plan will be considered. Thank you.
Thank you. Caller ending in 411. You press *6 to unmute.
Commissioner Curtis, Environmental Commission staff, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. This is James Demore, calling from Ann Arbor in the 3rd Ward, where I live. And I have addressed this commission before in the past couple of meetings. And I just want to say thank you again for working hard and bringing forward a beautiful document, a very strong document that reflects a lot of hard work. And I think this is something that's powerful that needs to go before City Council. And it's important that be raised directly with council. Since I agree with previous speakers, there's some issues regarding the comprehensive land use plan. In particular, they make a mention regarding the green belt, and they're mentioning acquisitions outside the city, but not important land acquisitions within the city that still need to be made, and important natural features covered and natural systems covered with those acquisitions as well. There's still a lot of high quality parcels still out there. This is a great document. I agree with what former Parks Commissioner Bauer mentioned a little while ago, and I speak with the heart as a former Parks Commissioner myself. I think there should be see some greater language in terms of regarding the floodplain and the floodway. I hope that when you're able to communicate that to council, that the intent moving forward. But what you have here is a very strong document, and I really appreciate the hard work by everyone involved here. And I guess what I could say is this is the strength of the commission. As you, I see on the agenda, you're looking at align yourself to be with the Sustainability Commission. I realize there's a lot of work ahead of you with that regard. One important thing to take into consideration, you are a very powerful commission. You're a great group of people with a lot of ideas and a background that are just invaluable. It is important that, yes, while the city can provide direction, you continue to provide leadership on your own right, and don't hesitate to bring ideas forward that can lead to progress within the city and protecting our environment. I agree with what Ms. Ramshaw said regarding a stronger tree ordinance. That's one way in terms of helping the sustainability issue. All in all, I really appreciate the leadership you've provided. And one more thing regarding the comprehensive land use plan. Yes, natural features on private land like trees need to be protected as well. I realize it may create some difficulties, but it is important that as we move forward, that we have a strong system in place, and new development, if it does occur, must work within our natural environment. All right, folks, thanks for considering my comments, and have a great night. Bye-bye.
Thank you. we do not have any additional callers.
Thanks, Aaron. So let's move on to unfinished business, which I think is the resolution. So what I'd like to do is just kind of go through the resolution and what we have changed from the last meeting and talk about it. I know the council member said they have a couple of suggestions they want to talk about, but that we'll get to those after I go through what's changed, just to get everybody to a baseline, and then we can talk about those changes if that's all right. Aaron, can you bring it up on the screen?
Yeah, do you want me to share the redlined or non-redlined?
Let's do the non-red line. That might be easier to go through because the red line gets kind of long in some areas.
Okay.
I move the motion, Brooke, so we can put it on the table. You need a second.
Okay, say that again, Chris.
One has to make a motion to present the resolution and needs a second, so you can discuss it.
Okay, is there a second for the resolution?
I second.
Okay,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Chris. So we had a meeting last week with city staff from planning and OSI to discuss some of their comments from last month's meeting. And I think, Aaron, you can just scroll through the whereas as I talk. We were able to resolve the different whereas statements to come to consensus of what we would suggest and what the city staff members that were there agreed to. They weren't really, we didn't feel like they were very consequential changes. It was more wordsmithing, so it was pretty easy to get through. We did spend a decent amount of time on the resolve clauses about what we were looking for, what mostly planning staff was looking for, somewhat what OSI was looking for. And what planning really asked us to do is to not have as many general statements and put specifically in the resolution the specific comments we wanted to see in there. So that's why in some areas it grew a decent amount. But we did take we took out some very big statements also. So can you scroll down just a little bit more, Aaron? One of the items we took out from the first one is an item to request that the whole natural features master plan be maintained. We thought that was probably too big of a reach from what we were looking at after talking to city staff. We didn't think that would probably be possible going forward. So we did strike that out of the document so you don't see that anymore. Scroll down a little bit more, Aaron. You can stop about there. From talking to city staff, they feel strongly that the language they put in there, their intention was to not have the comprehensive plan degrade the current natural features that we have in Ann Arbor. But we are concerned about the way the comprehensive plan was worded. So we put in a few statements about that. Okay, if, you know, for one, let's put a bullet in there, an opening paragraph saying what is written in the comprehensive plan is replacing the natural features master plan. It does say the natural features master plan's not being maintained, but it doesn't really say what will be going in there. And just an acknowledgement that the comprehensive plan is shorter, but they're not trying to degrade it. We think that would be, people get concerned when they go see a 47, 48 page document go down to a few paragraphs in PowerPoint. So that was kind of a concern there. In the next section, which starts as a purpose and then scrolling down to a general description and then a 4-page table, that is very close to word for word from the natural features master plan. We thought, the one thing that's not in here is if you're not degrading and you're trying to maintain, well, what is the current status? And when you take the natural features master plan out, there was nothing in describing the current status. So that's why we put this in there. It's not word for word because in the table and the text, it refers to a master plan and we don't have a master plan. It's just a plan. So we took the word master out. That's pretty much the only difference besides one word that was misspelled in the existing document. So why don't you scroll down to the end of the table, Aaron? So that really is just describing what we have today throughout that table. So this section, starting in 10.1, we looked at the specifics we were looking at and where they would fit within the comprehensive plan. And some of them went to 10.1, some 10.2, 10.3, and also a couple of comments in 4.1 and 4.2. We looked at what we were trying to work on and where they would fit within the comprehensive plan, the text that was there, and what would make the most sense. So I'm just going to read through the ones in 10.1. The city should consider adding protections for soil compaction and heritage trees. Second bullet, the city should incentivize development in areas with low natural features but high in other desirable values, such as walkable, bikeable, public transportation with employment opportunities. Third bullet, the city's nature areas have had restoration over the past few decades and are seeing an improvement in biodiversity. To expand that improvement, the city should look for opportunities to create wildlife corridors, air or land, doesn't necessarily mean buying land, throughout the city. Corridors can include existing private property, which could receive a wildlife corridor designation. The fourth bullet, the city should consider developing goals and strategies to reduce mortality of birds across the city from collisions with windows in conjunction with the city's bird city status. And then in 10.2, and the first one was really about 10.1 is about critical natural features. 10.2 is about stormwater runoff is really kind of the theme of 10.2. And so we'd like to see one additional in there. The city should consider a program to encourage the removal of turf grass and other invasive plants from city and residential property, which will allow more water absorption by the soil, encouraging the use of native plants. 10.3, it talks about really the urban heat island effect. So we'd like to see a couple of more in there. For projects that do not require a site plan or where tree removals are proposed, the city should require funds added to the canopy loss fund. The cost should be a sliding scale from a high price for native trees, a lower price for non-native trees, and a credit for invasive trees. The net result for all projects in Ann Arbor should be a negligible increase in total cost. And the second bullet, the city should finalize the 2023 Urban Forest Management Plan and strive to achieve the canopy coverage goals listed, increase residential from 37% to 60%, increase recreational and open spaces from 48 to 50%. There's also a note in the comprehensive plan, goal 10. So we'd like to see, it talks about different things there. We thought we should include a list of examples of green infrastructure, should include conversion of mowed grass to native parks and also removal of invasive species. The note has a listing of different items, but those two seem to be missing from the list. In 4.1, it's in economically disadvantaged areas with low access to parks and natural features. The existing parks and natural features should be protected regardless of their usage. 4.1 talks about repurposing different areas in the city, including parks, that is based on usage. And we don't feel that's correct in economically disadvantaged areas. If they don't have time to go to parks, doesn't mean we should take their parks away. We should find ways to create so they have time to go to the parks or go for walks in nature areas. In 4.2, the city should identify non-motorized routes from high-density housing to the nearest park and nature areas. That does not mean purchase land, just identify the route. Can they use the border-to-border trail? Can they use sidewalks? Do they have to walk on the street? Because we don't have sidewalks yet there. Someone moving into a building, an apartment building or condo or something, we should be able to tell them what it's going to take. Let's see. The next one is ensure that so the last one talks about getting the different cities to make natural features a sustainable priority with strategies, actions, and plans. OSI has done some of that on some of their work, but we haven't seen that everywhere. And it really hasn't really gotten into the natural features world much. So we'd like to see that in there. Item D, which was in another place before, is sequestering greenhouse gases emissions and increasing biodiversity in the city, is one we'd like to see in there. Last month, that statement was somewhere else in the document, but we removed most of that paragraph and just put that bullet point here. Questions, comments before we go to the council members' changes? Or council member suggestions for changes, I guess I should say. Would one of the council members like to ask questions? Or Chris, I see a hand.
The fundamental thing everyone at this table and listening needs to understand. The natural features regulations that we have had for the last 20 plus years have applied to only those projects in the city that require site plan approval. That is a process through the planning staff and the planning commission, and then approval by the city council afterward. Most of those projects over the last 20 years have been larger housing projects on large tracts of land. There has never been any protection for any natural feature on any residential neighborhoods that are established and have long existed. We think there should be. The fundamental things we're saying here also mean that we want natural features protections expanded in the city to address the loss of them on private property that is not large development, that does not require site plan. We don't want to lose trees in densification. We do not want to lose tributary buffers in densification. We don't want to lose wetlands or wetland buffers in densification. This has never proved to be an impediment to developers in the city. The cost has been minimal, though not insignificant, in order to push them to take fewer trees, to stay out of wetlands, to not flatten a site, to not cover the site with subsurface soils, to not fill wetlands. We want the same thing to happen in the rest of the city now. So please understand, we are asking for an expansion of these regulations. It is not difficult to do. And it may be one way to soften the tearing up of the fabric of some residential neighborhoods by this densification process. Thank you. Just so everyone understands. It's one thing to say, okay, it's great, we'll keep our natural feature stuff, but if it doesn't apply to where all this densification is going to go on, it's not working. Thank you.
Other comments? Go ahead, Commissioner Mitchell.
Thank you. I just want to say what Chris said in a slightly different way, and that is that we currently get a lot of value from the natural features that exist on private property. We may not even know and may not have measured it exactly. And so what we're concerned about is the potential for increased impermeable surfaces and crowding out of features that we all know and love. And it's one of those things where it's like, once they're gone, they're gone. We do need to protect them because those natural features are protecting us in many ways. Not only us, but the creatures and plants that live with us. So I'd like us to look at this as a way to collaborate among ourselves so that we support the natural features that we need. That's all. Thank you.
Other comments? Councilmember Cornell or Malik, you want to talk about what you'd like to see changed?
Yeah, Councilmember Malik, because you have a change actually to some of the content, I have a change to the resolved. So do you want to discuss the content piece first? That might make more sense.
Sure. So, thanks everybody who worked on this, and thank you for the hard work over the last several months and as well as the comments tonight. The one proposal I have for an edit is on page 12. It would be the statement that corresponds to comprehensive plan goal 10.3. And this is the extension of natural features protections to private land. The reason I have an edit to this section is because there have not been many situations in the state of Michigan where municipalities have done this. However, the few that have not withstood legal challenge. As this section is worded now, I believe this too would not withstand legal challenge. So my edit is to say, rather than, let me pull it up here, rather than to say the city should require funds added to the canopy, I would propose it say the city should explore requiring funds added to so on and so forth. Only because it's not clear that this would be an across the board illegal or across the board it wouldn't withstand legal challenge. I'm no lawyer, but I do believe there could be a path forward on this. And I agree that this is an important component of this resolution. And I agree with Commissioners Graham and Commissioner Mitchell in that, this is an important aspect of this resolution. So I don't want to, remove it or anything like that. But I do think if we want this to be something, that gets implemented down the line, the city and the Future Sustainability Commission will probably have to get creative, and it will require a lot of work to find a path forward that achieves the goals of this bullet point as well as withstands legal challenge in the state of Michigan. But I'm open to feedback and I'm open to others' thoughts on this.
Commissioner Graham?
Sorry. Thank you, John. This is not a legal document. It doesn't have to stand muster with the attorneys. But the fact of the matter is that in the instances over all these years where replacement trees, for example, could not be fit upon a site in the quantity that was required by the standards of the natural features provisions in the UDC, there is a fee paid based on a tree canopy fee that would be paid to the city. All of those funds over the years, as I understand, have gone into the general fund. They haven't gone to support natural features work in the city, or for heaven's sakes, our natural areas program in state parks, in the city parks. They should be going there. One of the things we're trying to do here is to get into code the idea that every project that goes forward from this point has to result in a net increase in the biodiversity of the city, if not the property. That mostly, especially for big buildings, will require a fee be paid in order to reach a 10% increase on that property and biodiversity. That fee should go to natural areas work in Ann Arbor, not to the general fund. So, I have no objection to your language change, but this is something to be worked out in code to change exactly where these funds go and what they should be used for.
Thanks, Chris. I'll say, I don't object to the suggested change. I'm not really sure why it's needed because, as Commissioner Graham said, we've been doing, or the city's been collecting money for canopy loss fees for a long time on larger projects. But maybe there is something on the legal side for the smaller side, and I'm not a lawyer. I didn't even try and look any of it up. So if this is what the recommendation is, I would support the wording that's there.
Yeah, Chair Curtis, that's my understanding as well. It's not that the collection of fees would not withstand, it's the requirement of all projects on private land that don't require a site plan, requiring them to pay a fee into the fund based on tree change or natural features change on their property, gets into some gray area, which is why I say it's not totally impossible to achieve this, but it's definitely something worth exploring. And I think, softening the language to say that it's clear that we're exploring this route rather than it must or require or whatever, I guess should require was the previous language, is kind of where that's coming from.
Okay. Commissioner Mitchell?
Thanks. I have a little hesitation on this in that the word explorer can be soft. And I worry that someone might just ask one question and say, well, I explored and stop. And so I'm concerned about proceeding in a solid investigative way that Councilmember Malik indicated that that results in the kind of thing that we want, which is to make improvements as opposed to having an overall decrease in tree canopy and the other natural features that are associated. So I'm just saying I'm hesitant about that term, and I don't know if there's another one, but explore feels like it could be easily a one and done.
Councilmember Cornell?
Thank you. And thanks. I want to echo Councilmember Malik's gratitude for all the work that's gone into this. I'm comfortable with the wording as proposed on the screen right now. I think my concern in some of this is we know that Ann Arbor is an incredibly expensive place to live. We know that basically property values and housing prices have doubled within the last 10 years. That already creates a barrier to folks who want to be our neighbors and live in our community. And so the idea that we would continue to place burdens on, people just wanting to live in our community, to have a home in our community feels, it doesn't feel right, honestly. And so when we talk about exploring requirements, to me, that is taking the thoughtfulness and the time to take a step back and align our goals and what we're trying to accomplish with this with more thoughtfulness around the audiences that would be impacted, and what impact that this might have on our broader goals, right? Of making our community more inclusive, to creating more housing opportunities here. I think could explore is a thoughtful way to acknowledge that we sitting here don't have all the answers, and should feels very prescriptive versus could feels like let's have a conversation about it with people who may have a different mindset. That's the definition of inclusion.
Commissioner Graham? You're on mute, Chris.
I keep trying. This is not a fee that will be leveled on us or me as a homeowner. This is a part of a development process that would be required of someone developing a property. Let's say they have they own it, or they have an arrangement where they get to own it if a plan is approved. The fee applies to them. And the negotiation about what happens on that property is a negotiation, from our point of view, about what happens to the natural features on that property. If they want to obliterate them, they can. They pay a fee. If they don't, if they want to pull back and do the things necessary to keep old trees on that property, then they pay no fee. This is not a homeowner thing. This is a developer thing, and as it always has been. And what we built into the original natural features regulations was that Mr. Developer Petitioner, you come to us with your piece of land and you want to do X on it. Show us 3 plans, and they show them to the planning staff, not to the planning commission or the council members, for heaven's sakes, that demonstrates that they're complying with the standard in the ordinance, the UDC. You will minimize your impact on natural features on this site and show us how you're doing that. If your project says, and you and your project and the planning staff conclude that you've done that, but you still have to take old trees, then you pay a fee. The developer pays the fee, not some homeowner. We want that kind of process to apply across the city. If we'd ever had any idea that established residential neighborhoods would be assaulted about densification and the way the planning commission and the planning director and the council appear to be talking, we would have put this into place years ago. The big damage to natural features was happening in big development sites. Big damage is going to happen if we densify all the residential neighborhoods that have lasted for many years. I am sorry to be emotional about this. I've been working on this matter for 30 years for you, the city of Ann Arbor. Thank you.
I'm just going to say, just because it says could explore, doesn't mean that we're going to ignore it and forget about it going forward. At least I won't, and I have no problem reminding people about it going forward if it gets sidelined. So I think other people would do that too. So, Councilmember Malik?
Thank you, Chair Curtis. And I agree. That's kind of what I was hoping to add is that, we will keep this on the agenda, if you will, and we will keep it a relevant topic moving forward, that it won't just be could explore, we say we try, and then we say we check that box and move on. I don't think any of us here will allow that to happen. And Commissioner Graham, I don't want you to apologize ever for being emotional. I see it as being passionate on this topic, and I think we all appreciate that in this group. So thank you.
Commissioner Mitchell?
I just want to say I appreciate that last comment in particular, because I think that, and yours also, Chair Curtis, that it will be incumbent on us and on council and on the planning commission to pursue this. So I can step back from my concern, but I will have that concern and will be among those who continue to press.
I would expect nothing less.
Mhm.
Anyone else want to make comments? Councilmember Cornell?
I feel like Rita or Commissioner Mitchell really set me up for my suggestion for the resolved clause. And hearing tonight's callers actually reinforced it as well. My recommendation is that this goes to Planning Commission at this point. It is the body that is charged on behalf of the city to receiving feedback on the comprehensive land use plan. They are they are the experts in what is changing and evolving in that plan currently. I'm uncomfortable with this proceeding without any input from the Planning Commission, since that's where all of that information is being collected, where the public engagement is happening, and where the plan is sort of evolving is within that body. So I would like their input on it, and I think at that point, hearing from this, I would be more comfortable representing this body at the council table if we had input from the Planning Commission. And I think they're the ones who are day to day paying the most attention in terms of what feedback is being received, how it is being synthesized, how it's informing the comprehensive land use plan. This has tremendous impact on the comprehensive land use plan. This, in my opinion, should receive some attention from them before it comes to the full body of council for consideration. Thank you.
Commissioner Graham?
Ms. Cornell, the Environmental Commission advises the City Council. It doesn't have anything to do with the Planning Commission. Well, we would really like to work with them. We'd really like to work much more than we have with the Planning Director. I ran the Natural Features Committee for nearly 20 years. And in the last 10, while we were trying to work out improvements in natural features ordinances, natural features provisions in the UDC, we invited the Planning Director to every meeting, sent him minutes. He came to one over all those years. He came to a meeting last week with us, Biodiversity Committee. He said, quote, "I am not interested in expanding natural features protections in the city," unquote. I don't think his planning commission is going to be interested in this either. I don't think there's anybody on the planning commission that isn't strongly pro-development, that doesn't think that natural features protections are an impediment to development, which is silly and not in accord with what most people in the city of Ann Arbor think, who actually own property here and live here. We're going to pass this resolution tonight and pass it on to you. If you want to send it to the Planning Commission, you can. But I would advise you to take our side and try to get your fellow council members to stop drinking the developer Kool-Aid. We don't want greed doing densification in this city. We want really fun, exciting, natural features protecting, biodiversity protecting, design with nature development to happen in the city. And you can do that. You don't have to go this willy-nilly breakneck, change everything course of action. Thank you.
I'm just going to say, I think what I heard Councilmember Cornell said, they're going to get feedback from planning. That doesn't necessarily mean they have to accept all the feedback that planning gives. I think it's very appropriate for Councilman
Right,
Bristol.
Brooks, but the council needs to ask the planning commission. We don't go to the planning commission and say, okay, give the council your opinion. We don't work for the planning commission. We were established as an environmental commission almost 30 years ago because there was a very pro-development mayor who was appointing highly development-oriented people to the planning commission. And there still were people on the council that really liked the environment in Ann Arbor. And so, led by Chris Kolb, the council decided we'd establish an environmental commission to advise the council on a different set of policies. And instead of the mayor appointing environmental commission members, they were appointed by the council and have been ever since. The origin of the environmental commission was to protect the environment in Ann Arbor, and it was protected against the arrogance and over enthusiasm of the development community operating here, wanting to operate here. Here we are again.
So Chris, I would agree that the way the bylaws are set up, the Environmental Commission recommends to City Council. We can add something in there after that saying City Council can get feedback from Planning Commission. I don't think that's any different. Whether we write it or not, that's exactly what they're going to do, and that's what they should do.
Yep.
So I just have to figure out how we put the words in there.
Don't have to. They'll do what they do.
Yeah. Rita?
Well, we are reviewing bylaws today, and when I looked over the draft, even coming up for the Sustainability Commission, the point is that there's an advisory capacity to council, and that's where we are right now. And I think that that's where we should stay. And I agree with Commissioner Graham that council, we would pass this to council, that council would assess, and I would welcome them to send it to planning. And I would absolutely welcome working with the planning commission, with planning staff to really work out and collaborate in ways that can be creative and do the kinds of protective things that I think we all have as a vision for the city. At least I hope we do. So I don't see how there would be a benefit to the modification for us to, why would we modify what our statement is? Because it can happen anyway. And I certainly welcome the collaborative approach.
Councilmember Cornell?
I think it's appropriate. I'll just restate it. I do think it's appropriate for this whereas for to modify this, or I'm sorry, the resolved clause to ask council to direct the planning commission to offer input on this. The planning commission owns the comprehensive land use document at this stage as it's, in draft form. And it seems like direction from staff should come from planning commission.
Raising my hand again.
And then come to council. That was the, yeah.
Well, again, it goes to the council first, and you all ask the planning commission for their input. But I'm suggesting to you that the planning commission has no interest. You might as well skip the step. You all, the council, needs to reassess what policies you're pursuing. You need to think very carefully because you're going to raise a serious hornet's nest here. If you keep going on the course you're going. People are not going to put up with the kind of tree destruction that's going to happen in this city. And it's established residential neighborhoods. Not going to happen.
Councilmember Cornell?
I'm going to point out again that that is not what this resolved clause directs. That's not how this directs the action. What it directs is that council not include planning commission and take action with the city administrator to direct staff. So for the sake of accuracy in terms of, I appreciate Mr. Graham saying that we're going to do what we want to do, but that is not how these resolutions work. That is not what this resolved clause actually directs us to do. So if the intention is for it to go directly to city council, that is one thing, but city council will not take that direction in this resolved clause and turn around and take it to planning commission. So just to be clear, procedurally, there is a reason to include that language.
Yes.
Why don't, may I make a suggestion? Why don't we start trying to put the language in and see what it looks like? I think that might make the most sense. So I think the way I hear it is something like recommends that city council direct the planning staff to provide feedback on the items in this resolve clause.
The planning commission.
Planning commission.
Yeah, not planning staff. That the planning that we are asking council to direct the planning commission to review this and provide input based on their knowledge of the current draft of the comprehensive land use plan. It is still evolving, so.
I would prefer, if we're going to change this, that the council ask all of the city staff and the planning commission, even the 820 folks.
Yeah, there's
what their views and opinions are about this. The planning commission's stacked. They're not interested. You need to get, it's like addressing your plan to the people who own property in residential neighborhoods. Most of us have never heard about this thing until the last couple of months. It's been going on 3 years. That's absolutely unacceptable. I think you need to look throughout the city for their opinions on these suggested policies to the council. Just the planning commission, you might as well save your breath. It shouldn't be that way. Forgive me. Maybe I'm overstating.
I want to acknowledge really quickly, Mr. Graham, that the city staff has spent time working on this directly with you and the subcommittee.
No,
so,
they have not.
Yes, they have.
One meeting last week?
Yes.
Okay.
I take a bit of it is not the job of city staff to provide opinions on, when you said all of city staff should weigh in, that's an inappropriate request.
Well, you take your leaders, but not just the planning commission, please.
I'd say
This
most
is
of the resolution fits into planning, but there are some areas that do not. And so if we want planning commission to review the ones that would be appropriate to planning, but some of it fits more under the OSI leadership, which would probably not be planning. So as long as planning would skip something like that, I think that would be appropriate. I mean, and some of it might be a little bit more closer to forestry on them when talking tree canopy, or environmental for stormwater. So there's different groups in the city. It's probably not all just those other groups don't fall under planning commission. Commissioner Mitchell?
I like what you just said about the broader city staff groupings being involved. And I think at this point, it would be useful to actually consider the language that we're talking about in a way that we can make a decision.
Yeah.
So.
Sure.
Councilmember Malik?
Yeah, I was just going to add, most of this resolution, while it covers lots of, environmental and natural features topics, it's all couched within kind of the framework of the comprehensive plan. So I think that's kind of where this suggestion is coming from, is the Planning Commission is the owner of the current draft comprehensive plan. So if this body wants changes in the draft comprehensive plan related to natural features, city staff don't have that ability to make changes. It is the planning commission. They are the owners of the draft comprehensive plan at the moment. So I think that's where this is coming from. It's, the majority of this resolution is, pointing to current goals of the draft comprehensive plan, and emphasizing certain parts of the draft comprehensive plan and asking to re-emphasize or add emphasis to other parts. So I think that's kind of where this proposed edit has largely come from, is saying, direct the planning commission to review the feasibility in developing and implementing the following policies. Because it is still a draft plan, there is still opportunity for it to change moving forward. I think this is quite timely. We anticipate the second draft of the comprehensive plan to come out June 10th, and then further iterations after that. So I think this is a timely resolution, especially if it is, going directly to planning commission, or going to council and then to planning commission, sorry.
Thank you. Commissioner Mitchell, hands up.
Oh, mistake.
Okay,
Sorry.
no problem. Councilor Malik, thanks for the clarification. That's a good point. And I'll say I did watch some of the Planning Commission's review of the comprehensive land use plan, at least the ones associated with Goal 10. And not all the planning commissioners are 100% on development. There's at least one that was very pro-environmental focused, or had some leanings towards environmental. So I'd say it's not all unfriendly faces there. Aaron, can people understand what Aaron has written in there, or should she delete the stuff that's redlined out so it's clear? It reads, direct the planning commission, yeah.
I don't see it.
Oh. Highlight the text.
It's not red anymore. Okay.
Not read anymore. She accepted it. Commissioner Marson?
Yeah, not to prolong this, but I mean, are we asking them to review the feasibility of the following policies, or are we asking them to consider including these policies in the comprehensive plan?
the latter. Carefully consider including. Thank you, Ann. Good suggestion.
You want to specifically call out, oh, we said the comprehensive plan down here. Okay. So if we have that, this goes away. Is that right? Therefore, be it resolved that the Environmental Commission recommends that the City Council direct the Planning Commission to consider the inclusion of the following policies in the comprehensive plan. Policies and practices. I don't know, policies and.
Do we want to call out discussion with the Environmental Commission in this? Because if they just review, I mean, it would be nice to have an exchange.
But a joint meeting.
Yeah.
A lot of planning commissions have no idea what natural features are. No idea what we've been doing the last 20 years.
I think procedurally we could request that they consider a presentation at their meeting, or there could be a sub-quorum group that meets. I would need clarification. Erin, Ms. Donnelly, you may know that, but I don't think that a joint meeting between the two commissions is advisable for a few reasons.
I think the other concern I would have is from the planning commissioner side. They've just had a series of weekly meetings that are 5+ hours long. They're not going to want to meet on anything associated with
on something this important, Brooks. I appreciate what you're saying, but this is the Environmental Commission talking.
I understand that, but
soon to be dead.
Perhaps like an invite to a meeting. I don't know, maybe the proper language, but consider the inclusion of the following policies in the comprehensive plan and consider a presentation from the Environmental Commission. I'm not sure the correct language, but I think Councilmember Cornell was correct in the thinking of, maybe offering a joint thing, but not requiring it or anything like that, but offering it. Or offering dialogue, maybe something along those lines.
Dialogue would be better than presentation that they just sit and listen to.
I agree. We need an exchange.
What about like in collaboration with the Environmental Commission?
Yeah, I was going to say, can we keep it somewhat vague and just say work with the Environmental Commission?
Yeah.
Good.
And do we need to reference Sustainability Commission? Just to be sure.
So environmental/sustainability.
Yeah.
Because of the timing that's going on.
That's a good point.
Yep. All right, so I'll turn off that. Oops. Oh. We got formatting problems. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'll fix that later, but here's how it reads. So therefore, be it resolved that the Environmental Commission recommends that City Council direct the Planning Commission to consider the inclusion of the following policies in the comprehensive plan in collaboration with the Environmental/Sustainability Commission.
That's fine.
Rita, you okay with this? You're muted, but
I'm okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Chair Curtis, if you're comfortable with that, I would move to approve this resolution as amended.
Point of order, are council members voting members of this commission?
Yes, they are.
Okay, second,
Okay. All in favor of approval, raise your hand, say aye. I
Aye.
can't,
Aye.
Aye.
looks unanimous. Thank you.
Okay, great. Approved with changes.
And now someone else gets to talk besides me.
so are we voting on resolution? As amended?
We just did.
Oh. I thought we raised our hands to agree to that specific change, but not passage of the resolution.
Well, you can have a second vote. Do people, everyone want to, we have
Thank
to,
you. Mr. Roberts is sitting on my shoulder.
I appreciate that because I'm new at this and I never used Robert's rules in industry.
I got a book for you. I'll get it to you.
Oh, no, you might read it.
It's
We
very
should,
complicated.
Ms. Donnelly, you may want to look back. Who seconded my motion to approve the?
I did.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think we may need to amend that if you didn't truly second that amendment or second that vote.
I did.
Okay.
Christopher Graham.
Okay.
Okay, so that was a true second.
Yes.
Okay,
Good.
great. Okay, yeah, we can move on to the bylaws.
We haven't still taken a vote, Mr. Chair, on the whole resolution.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the whole resolution? Let's
It's
do it.
already on the table. Just take a
All right.
vote.
Let's take a vote. Everyone in approval, raise your hand, say aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
There goes Mr. Robert.
Okay. Now we're on to the new bylaws.
Great.
So these are bylaws for Sustainability Commission we're talking about?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And what changes happened since the last time we met?
Yes.
So yes, I apologize. So they look a lot different than the ones from last time, and that was the result of me getting ahead of the attorney's office. And so they have been revised to be more closely matched to what I would say our current bylaws are. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to share the redline version.
Aaron,
Yeah. What was that?
are they on Legistar?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
So you'll see the bulk of the changes are going to be in the membership part in this Article 3, the purpose, objectives, and duties. If I toggle, I can't remember, does it move the screen if I toggle or does it stay on the red lines? Is anything happening?
It moves the screen.
It does, so you can see the clean version when I toggle.
Yes.
Okay, great. So this first paragraph is the intent. So it's kind of the mesh of the two. So it includes kind of the original language, protects and enhance air, water, land, but there's also some wording around the city's sustainability goals in 820 and efforts to achieve carbon neutrality by 2030. And then we move into the powers and duties. And so you'll see that's where the annual work plan comes in, the staff-led work plan, and then how the work plan will kind of be organized around metrics to determine progress towards meeting those, the work plan. And then we move into some of the specific powers and duties. And some of these have changed kind of based on maybe staff has the capacity to do some of the work that we were doing previously, and others it's just changing because now we're addressing both energy and environment. And some of like the wording has changed. So like instead of sewer, we now use water reclamation. So you can see kind of some of those red lines as well. And then membership will go from 15 to 13 voting members. So we are proposing to have city council be non-voting members. And then 11 voting members plus 2 youth voting members. So yes, it would still be 15, but it would be 13 voting members. And then the liaison. And then we did include a paragraph about the initial membership as of June 1, 2025. And then, after that, we'll start getting back to the staggered start as we bring on new folks. So it reads, the initial membership shall consist of those members appointed to and serving on the Energy Commission as of June 1, with terms expiring as stated and their respective prior appointments. Going forward, members shall be appointed to staggered terms, so approximately 1/3 of the members with 3-year terms expire each year. And then this is not new language, but we just moved it around. And then you can see a lot of this is similar, these articles. I just took out the review of the bylaws on an annual basis. I don't know if that had to be in there, but it seems like if we want to look at the bylaws, we can. We don't need to make ourselves do it on an annual basis. And then the other, there's a paragraph added in the meetings. And then the other big change was around, so previously we had Article 8 and Article 9, which was the agenda and order of business, which was removed. And then the committees and work groups were just reworked a little bit here. So that's the other big, I would say, area of change. And so this is where kind of it gets into the details of the work plan and how working groups will be kind of formed around the work plan. And there is, so I did try to tweak it. So I heard the feedback from the last meeting about like there needs to be, the way it was presented was very top down with like staff kind of telling the commission what to do. And so it's not meant to be that way. I agree that there should be a mechanism for feedback. And so I tried to kind of include some of that language that, yes, like, and I'm happy, like staff is happy to have feedback on what might go into the work plan, and we'd love to make that work if possible. And then I would say those 3 sections are the big changes. So yeah, any questions? Thoughts?
Commissioner Mitchell?
Thanks. Erin, I'm not sure I quite understand the work plan design because it looks the same to me, and maybe I just didn't read it correctly.
There was a line in there that they would get input from the commissioners before, on the annual basis before the new work plans was developed. That was missing before.
Okay. So it's not solely staff organized.
The staff should be asking for our feedback. I mean, they might reject our feedback, but at least we'll be asked for our feedback.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Graham?
Well, I'm not sure that goes quite far enough. We wouldn't have a climate action plan if the Energy Commission hadn't, out of their own initiative, suggested doing it and really fought to make it happen. We wouldn't have an operating MRF in the city if the Environmental Commission hadn't intervened in what was a disastrous end of our blast facility. We initiated that. It's not just feedback to city staffs telling us what to do. We should have absolute freedom built into the bylaws to initiate items of discussion and items for the work plan.
Yeah, I understand that. I think the intention was that I think there's been a lot of instances where a lot of hard work has been put into something and then the city hasn't been able to implement it. And I think that's what we're trying to avoid. We're really trying to leverage the work that the commissions are doing in a way that can be used in the city. And I think finding the balance, I guess we'll need to strike a good balance there. And so I'm happy to take feedback on language. I'll say that the first, so the sections, section 3, the purpose, objectives, and duties, and then the membership are the pieces that are going to go into like the ordinance. And then the remaining sections of the bylaws are like more flexible too. So like if we wanted to change some of that language at a later point, we wouldn't have to necessarily change it in the ordinance because it would be like part of the bylaws. But I hear what you're saying is my point.
It's,
Commissioner Mitchell?
how do we assure that flexibility? It sounds like there's a plan to have a work plan identified at the beginning of a, let's say, whatever our term year is, and then how much flexibility is there in that?
In the work plan topics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think staff is still kind of working on the logistics of that. I think if we move forward with the ordinance, the first reading of the ordinance in June, then essentially this would be kicking off in July. So staff would probably be coming with an idea of a work plan at that time. And then I'm thinking it could be a discussion. I guess I don't know like the logistics specifically yet. We're going to be kind of working it out as we go this first year.
Missy did tell us she's drafting the Sustainability Commission's work plan. I can't remember any time when staff has drafted such a work plan for the Environmental Commission, and I've been on it for 20 years. We've drafted our own with the advice and complete participation of staff involved with us, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying we have to do it. It's nice to have, especially on energy issues that are very complicated, staff's leadership. But it should not be structured in a way that forecloses our own initiative. We're not here for that. We're not here to work for city staff. We're here to represent people of the city of Ann Arbor and advise the council what we hear, what we learn, what we think. We're appointed for that purpose, not to work for city staff.
Mm-hmm.
Can you repeat which sections of the bylaws are going to be in the ordinance?
Yes, I believe it will be, I mean, it's generally the purpose and duties, the membership, and yeah, the purpose and duties and the membership.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be I'm trying to remember the ordinance number currently. But yeah, I'd have to, you could go and look and confirm and it will look pretty similar to what's in there.
So stuff on the work plan or whatnot, that would not be in the ordinance. So it would be easier to change if we get into something and we realize it's not working. We could pivot easier if we need to.
So there is a yes and no. So as written, there is, I'll share again, I'll share the clean version. So in the powers and duties, it does say that the work shall be directed by an annual work plan. But then there is a later section that goes into a little more about the details of the work plan and the working groups around that. And that's the section that I meant. I think it's Article 8 that is a little more flexible.
And just one thing, maybe slightly off topic of the bylaws, from how the work groups work, from the commissioner side, it's very easy for us to use Google Docs to share information. That doesn't work very well for Ann Arbor city staff. So if we're going to be working with someone on city staff and they want us to work in SharePoint, then they need to be setting that stuff up because we can't do that as an external body.
Mhm.
Or
Yeah,
some way
that's a
to
good
share
point. Yep.
information needs to be set up.
Yep.
I
Yep,
would
that
view
can be.
this, I'm sorry, Sarah.
Oh yeah, I'll go. Aaron, so I guess what is kind of rubbing me the wrong way is the word directed. So it says that our work shall be directed. I would maybe use another term like guided or informed. Because directed, it does make it sound almost like we're working for the city, which we're not. We're not getting paid, right? We're here.
Mhm.
A lot of us are very passionate about very specific issues and have a lot of knowledge in that arena. So and then I will echo what Chris said. I do think that sometimes we can come up with ideas that are outside the box. And even if, we propose those to the city and it doesn't work, there's still merit, in having the conversation. And maybe we come to a point, of innovation that we wouldn't have. It might not be exactly what we had in mind, but so I guess maybe making that part of the work plan is like having a bit of it open-ended, to encourage innovation or new ideas, to help like push environmental stewardship forward.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, thank you.
I would view this whole document as the document, including section 8. I don't see how you strip that out and leave the things after section 8. I mean, the language you're talking about is the language. So I hope you can get it improved a little.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yeah. I would like to understand a little bit about how the work groups will work with the work plan, because it seems like in order to have a work plan identified, you would have had to identify the work groups already. It feels very structured that way. Is that the
Mhm.
intent? Because I thought also later on it indicates that there's some flexibility in starting work groups, if I interpreted that correctly.
Yes. Yep. Um, we are still working on what that is going to look like. But yes, the intent is that there could be work groups developed that aren't, not directly part of the work plan if there is majority commissioner support. But I can't answer specific questions about like the work plan or the working groups quite yet because we are still very much in brainstorming mode on that.
Is it possible for us to brainstorm with you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, I'm of course happy to take feedback. And in talking with Joe, the liaison to the Energy Commission, I think we are intending the July meeting to be a discussion and kind of brainstorm sort of thing. But yes, there's no solid plans around that quite yet.
Mostly it's good. Mostly it's the way it should be.
Do we know when the July meeting is going to be held?
I don't, because we do need to figure out what day and times we're going to meet. I think that the ordinance probably needs to be passed first before we start making those plans. I think there was a general preference of CTN to keep it either at this time or the Tuesday at 6 p.m. time, and there were a couple other open slots. But there are a lot of commissions that meet that are going to max out the CTM time. So there are not a lot of open time slots. But it would likely be this current time or the time that the Energy Commission has been meeting.
So just one question, on the work groups, is there going to be a recommendation in the bylaws that everybody be on at least one work group? That affects hours per month people should anticipate spending when they volunteer to be on the Sustainability Commission. it's not just one meeting, it's 2 meetings plus other work or something like that.
I don't believe that's in there now. Yeah, that's something we could consider.
Other questions or comments? Commissioner Dale.
I'm just not sure I heard or followed. So will there be some rewording of this section in 3.2 or in Article 8 about how the work plan, the level of input that the commission gets on setting that work plan? Because in 3.2 it doesn't say anything about how the work plan is created. It just says that once it's there, it will direct what the Sustainability Commission's tasks are, but it doesn't say anything about how it's created. And then Article 8, it just says that it will give us our input will be considered. So is there going to be some massaging of that, and do we get to have another round of looking at some of that language?
Yes, so I could certainly consider putting some language in on Article 8 around how the work plan is formed. Yeah, if folks have specific feedback now, or if you want to send it to me in the next week. I think the first reading of the ordinance is going to be June 2nd, and then the bylaws will be included probably with the second reading on June 16th. And so, yeah, I think if I have feedback soon, I could take it back to other staff and we could consider that, definitely.
My hand's still up, so I'll just continue. Thank you.
But yeah, I mean, it's certainly not intended to be like staff is going to tell the commission what to do, but I understand how that is reading. So yes,
Yeah, and I'll just say for the record, I'm really excited actually about the idea of having a work plan that we do collaboratively to put together. I think that will help us to be more effective all around. I think that's fantastic, and I know the staff have so much on their plates already. So as much as we can, be working on some of the same things, I think it will be more productive for everybody. But I would definitely feel more comfortable if there's something specifically in there about this being like Chris and Rita were saying of us being able to bring ideas to the table and it being more than just sort of considered. I'd love to see the word collaborative or something in there, right? Together draft priorities or something like that.
And it should be a working document. It should evolve through a year. I shouldn't be something that's so fixed that it's immutable for a year.
Yeah, I mean, it will, I think the first year will be a learning experience in a lot of ways. Yes. Great. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So next it's report outs from committees. I'll start with the biodiversity. Well, we worked on the resolution and we had multiple meetings last month. And I think that's all we got accomplished, but that was enough. Circular economy. I know Steve Brown's not in. I know they had a meeting a couple of days ago. I didn't get any meeting minutes back, but I know they were meeting on it. And there was a discussion about a clothing swap on June 3rd through 7th, and they're looking for volunteers for that. Water quality, Sarah?
I was actually pretty fancy and I put some slides together because This is our last meeting as the Environmental Commission, correct?
Yes,
And
it is.
yeah. Erin, do you have those? Can you put them up?
Yeah, I do. Might take me a second.
Yeah, it would take me longer.
All right, here we go.
Oh yeah, there we are. Oh my gosh. I think I'm zoomed in on my screen because it's
Yeah.
really huge.
Oops.
I'm not the only one, it sounds like.
That better?
Yeah,
Still zoomed in humongous, or is that good?
you're good. I think it was
Okay.
on where dots are. Yeah, tough. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of give an overview of what we've done in the past year. So I think probably the goal that I feel most strongly about is our outreach goal. We've been tracking a lot of different water quality issues within the city, staying up to date with what CARD, which tracks the Gelman plume, is up to. We've made connections with the Washtenaw County Water Commissioner's Office. We had a member from the Huron River Watershed Council that kept us informed and up to date on what they're working on. And I think within the last year, we did have RRD come and give a presentation. I also gave that presentation on water frameworks. So I felt like we had a lot of sort of good outreach over the past year. We had a goal to work on nutrients and E. coli issues. We did that through coordination with the Middle Huron Partners Group, where we had Steve Brown attending those meetings and bringing us updates on what was going on there. And then we also started our chlorides work group. So salt and chloride in our watersheds is a huge problem for aquatic life. So we worked with Kelly McCabe. She's from Huron River Watershed Council to identify some goals that we want to work on going forward. We identified some creeks that are being impacted by chlorides and are making plans for next fall, what we can do to help reduce salt. So that was a pretty big achievement for us. And then we also are being involved with the Ann Arbor Comprehensive Plan work group meetings for stormwater. So those were sort of our 4 target areas and what we were able to accomplish. And then the next slide, Erin. These were some issues that we've just been tracking. So Gelman generally, but we had a highlighted focus on an MS4 permit issue with 1,4-dioxane seeping into stormwater, our MS4 outlet into the Huron River. So we were tracking that pretty closely and are still brainstorming ideas on what we can do about that. We're tracking a PFAS issue at, this is actually a Scioto Township property, but there's some chance the liable party might be Gelman, so it's just a big issue we're tracking. We've been following some chlorinated groundwater issues near the Eaton Argus area. And then Steve has been working on a benzene smell that keeps popping up at West Park. We've been working on a lakes and impoundments monitoring resolution, reviewing Chapter 33, which is Ann Arbor Stormwater Ordinance. And then, as I said, chloride, we're focusing on 3 specific creeks within Huron River Watershed and looking into some options for the future to help us do salt smarter in the city. And then my last little thing, I think going forward, we may rebrand in honor of the Sustainability Commission, maybe to Sustainable Water Work Group. I don't know, what do you guys think? Yeah, okay. Sweet. Okay, so that's all. That's my update.
Very good.
Um,
Awesome job, Sarah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad to update you all on like everything because yeah, it's so many different issues that have come up in our year, and it's just been really, really fascinating to be in the role. So
Very good.
Thanks. John Mursky reported that Energy Commission did not have a meeting last month because they did not have quorum. Parks, Commissioner Marson.
Hi, yeah, we just met on Tuesday. And summer season in Parks and Rec starts this weekend. Hard to believe today, but true. We had a presentation on the Border to Border Trail west of Barton Nature Area. The county and its various organizations are in the planning phases for how the trail is going to align with Huron River Drive. And then we passed a resolution to enter into an agreement with GEI Consultants for stewardship services in the city parks. And this is to the tune of $375,000 that came from some federal funds.
What stewardship, and what exactly are they going to be doing?
The work, I think, is TBD, but I believe it's going to be sort of invasive species removal and assorted things. This was a grant that was put in a couple of years ago, and it's a joint thing between Parks, Forestry, and there might have been one other body, I don't remember, involved in it. And so they were awarded the contract or awarded the funds, the grant, and there was some question earlier this year whether because it's federal funding, whether it was really going to come through. It appears that it will. And so, so work is going to proceed.
So it's a summer season.
Chris, if I can add on the GEI consulting work, it's going to be in some of the natural features like supporting NAP staff, removing invasive species, maybe doing controlled burns, things along those lines. So similar to what NAP staff would do, but it's only in 6 of the nature areas and economically disadvantaged areas. I believe it was 6. But.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything from council that they want to add? No.
I would just, for my part, I'm excited to see the changes with the Sustainability Commission and the collaborative work we can do with the previous Energy Commission. And I think the ideas and energy and conversations in this commission have been really terrific, and I'm looking forward to continuing that. And I'm grateful for everyone who's volunteering their time to be part of this group.
Last was chair. I'd say, as we all know, this is our last meeting for the Environmental Commission. It's been my pleasure to serve as chair for the past year. It's been a learning experience for me, and I'm also looking forward to sustainability to see what the future holds. Change is always different and scary and fun. So let's see what happens. Erin, I think next is report out from staff.
Yeah, thanks. I was also gonna take a second to recognize what this commission has done over the years to make our community better. I know it takes a lot of time and a lot of patience to do the things you do. I was actually talking with Joe about doing a more in-depth acknowledgement in the meeting in July because the Energy Commission didn't get a final meeting because they didn't have a quorum. So that's want to give them that opportunity too. So yeah, looking forward to continue to working with you all. And I did want to say, I believe this is Commissioner Peters Wood last meeting on to bigger and better things. And Commissioner Waying as well. She wasn't here tonight, but we're moving on. For my update, I had 2 updates from OSI. So A20's week is coming next week. Is next week June already? No, in 2 weeks. Ooh, okay. June 1st through 7th. You can check on their website. They have all kinds of amazing activities, family-friendly things to do. Sustainability Forum, May 29th at the downtown library. They'll be talking about the SEU. So you can come and learn all about it and next steps for that. And then what I didn't have on my updates, we did, this will be a public service update. We finally got our stormwater MS4 permit. It's been maybe 20 years since we got our last one. So I believe that's publicly available on My Enviro. Folks can check it out. But yes, it's open for public comment right now. And that's all I have for my updates.
Okay, thanks. Next is our second public comment. This is an opportunity for people to speak for up to 3 minutes. Please call 888-788-0099. Enter meeting ID 954-3473-9065. To raise your hand, press 9. To unmute, press *6. City staff will select callers who have raised their hand one by one using the last 3 digits of your phone number. When speaking, please move to a quiet area, state your name and address at the beginning of your comments. There may be a delay up to 30 seconds before a connection is established. Aaron, do we have callers?
I don't see anybody in the queue.
Okay. Anybody else have anything they want to say while we're still an environmental commission? This is your last opportunity to talk before we go.
Good night to the 2 cats that are on air this evening.
Thanks for your leadership, Brooks. You did a great job.
Good job.
Agreed. And Aaron, thank you for your support for our commission.
Agreed, Brooke.
Yeah.
Night.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn? Seconded. Anya. Okay, we're done. We're out of here.
Good
See
night,
you in a month and a half or 2 months.
Thanks all.
Thank you, everybody.